Welcome back. So now we're going to talk about multiplication of fractions. So I'm going to start with one that we had talked about before, and this sort of thing, okay, where we have a whole, right? We have 3 times a fourth, okay? Or one way of phrasing this is we want 1/4 of, right? So if we say 1/4 of 3, this tells us or connotes multiplication. Okay? How do we handle this? Well, intuitively, we kind of understand what it means to take 1/4 of a 3. And we've seen this before. In just looking at multiplication, this means, hey, 3 groups of 1/4. So if I have 3 groups of 1/4, right? Or if I have, let's say, well, let's do it the other way. So I can do something like this, right? Oh, let me do it this way. Okay, so let's say these are equal pieces, right? Each one represents a whole, right? So this is 1, 1, 1. There's our 3. And we want to take 1/4, right? We want to take 1/4 of the 3. Well, I can take 1/4 of this one, right? And I can take 1/4 of this one, and I can take 1/4 of this one, and then add them together. Because isn't that what this means? 3 times a fourth is 3 groups of 1/4, so it's 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, right? Or, here's another way of looking at it. I can take three wholes. Right? So here's 3 wholes. So each one of these represents 1, right? 1, 1, 1. And so what I want to do is I want to take 1/4 of those 3. Well, how would I do that? Well, I would have to cut these 3 things into 4 equal pieces. So I'd have to have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1/4 of those. See how it gives me the same thing? And so this gives me what? 3/4, right? Well, what I get? I got 1/4 from here. This is 1, so I got 1/4. I got 1/4 from here, and I got 1/4 from here, so it gives me 3/4. Okay, 2 different ways of seeing the same thing. Now, this most people don't have a problem with taking a fourth of a whole or a fraction of a whole or a fraction of 3 wholes, you know, like 3/4 of 5 and things like that. Where people get confused is when we deal with the second one here, which is a fraction of a fraction. For example, I want half of 1/3. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to represent 1/3. So again, 1/2 of a third, a half of a third. Okay? Well, what's a half? Well, first we have to draw what a half looks like. Okay? So let's say a half. Okay? So I have half. So here's 1/2.
Call from 815-466-8369.
Okay? But let's say I have a half, but I want 1/3 of that. I want 1/3 of the half. How would I do that? Well, I'm going to have to cut this into thirds. Okay, I just took this and cut it into thirds, going the other way. So now I've got thirds. Now I want 1/3 of this half, which means I'm now interested in this. So now guess what? Based on my diagram, what does 1/2 times 1/3 equal? Well, now what happens? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal pieces, and I've got one of those. So I get 1/6. Well, look at that. This is equal to 1/6. Okay? So that's a visual way of understanding what we mean by when we take a fraction of a fraction. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else I'd like to say about that. Okay, so in other words, we've got one shaded region out of 6 now. Okay, instead of what we had before. Now, here is the way we do multiplication of fractions. In order to multiply, this is the visual, but the algebraic way of doing this is when we multiply fractions, we multiply across the top and we multiply across the bottom. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6. Okay? And that's how we do it. Have a great day.